We're going to get a little West Market. You're new. We call this place the Island of Misfit Toys. You're going to hear about that a little bit later. But, look, just so you guys know I'm not lying. You see all these unplugged lights down here? I got tired of trying. Okay? So, here's what we're going to do. Miss Molly, you want to be part of this illustration? You're nervous. Chris will do it. He's never nervous. Okay? You know how we know Chris is never nervous? You got to be pretty confident to wear a suit like that. Right? Although, baby blue is his color. Can we get an amen to that? Come on. Okay. So listen. These lights, you want to be in this illustration? Yes. You said no, it was going to fail. Okay? Just kidding. I'm going to stay here with you so you don't, I'm going to go, but don't be nervous. Okay? But these lights, what they represent, you think, starts with an L, ends in life. Life, right? And so, right now, all lit up, all pretty, if we turn this on. But then here's what happens. I don't know about you, but my job, because of you, literally, you, all of you, gets a little stressful sometimes, right? And if your Christmas lights are old, what happens is this part of my life is a little less peaceful. Watch this. You ready? I got this planned out. But hold these up tall for me. When one life aspect is not peaceful, this is what my life does. There's no peace anywhere, right? But because we're Christians, we love Jesus, right? So work gets a little bit better. I get a promotion. I talk to my boss. Here comes this, okay? But then, how many of you guys got crazy family? Yep. Let's go ahead and take that one off, right? Right? Family about to stress some of you out this week especially. And then I don't know about you, but how many of you guys are in a relationship with at least one other person, friend or loved one? They make it stressful? My wife has 2 extra kids today. They're not ours. Don't start a rumor. They're my niece and my nephew. But she was late today. You know why she was late today? Because she had 2 extra kids. One of them is asleep. One of them is sitting in this room and dumped chocolate milk all over my house that I can't wait to go home and help clean up. Right? But when relationships get tricky and your family, this is what ends up happening. Right? That's life. And then here's what happens. Peace, no peace. Peace, no peace. That's pretty impressive. Go ahead and clap for that. I'm just saying, that's pretty good. Right? But so you think through this, right? Thanks for your help. You will be handsomely rewarded with the treasure in heaven one day. Right? So you think through this. How many of us can relate to life like that? We have peace, we don't have peace. We have peace, we don't have peace. Is that relatable to anybody in the room? Yeah, anybody not relate to that? Because if not, I want to come hang out in your life, right? I want to come spend time with you guys because that's the picture of what life often looks like. And what happens is this peace, as it comes and it goes and it comes and it goes. And for many of us, peace is based on circumstance, right? If things are going good in my life, we would say we have peace, right? And here's the question I guess I want you to think through, right? And you don't have to answer out loud. Is peace really something you can achieve? Right? So think through that. Is peace really something you can achieve? And for some of you, the answer is no. Right? For some of you, the answer is no. I'm going to tell you in a secret, I'm going to tell you a secret in a minute, that the answer for all of you is no. Is peace something you can achieve? No, right? And you think through this, no matter what you've tried, no peace. No matter how hard you work, no peace. No matter what you do, who you do. That sounded bad. Let's run that back. No matter what you do or who you're in a relationship with, right? No matter what is going on in your life, that's so bad. Golly, you remember that youth pastor? Picture tents. Oh, I don't know how you come back from that. Run it all back. Let's get the lights back out. No, no. I'm good. I'm good. My face will get red. Yours can get red with me if you're empathetic. But no matter what's going on in your life, you cannot hold on to peace, right? And if that's the case for you, right? If you're like, yeah, that's me, right? No matter what I am doing, what's going on in my life, no matter what, I can't achieve peace. Here's the takeaway of the day. It's right at the start, so you can pay attention less after this. But here is the takeaway, right? Peace isn't something you achieve. It's a someone you can receive. That's good. Right now we can forget the rest. Just focus on that. Take a picture of it. Eli, go ahead and leave that up there for a while, right? But you think through this, right? Most of us will try anything to receive peace, right? We will distract ourselves. We'll medicate ourselves. We'll self-medicate ourselves. But peace is not something you achieve, right? It's not a mindset. It's a person, right? It's a someone. And this is what's beautiful, right? The same verse we've studied. This is the last week we'll study it. Christmas Eve, we're going to look at it one more time. But think about this. Throw up Isaiah 9:6, Eli. It says, "For unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father." And here it is, Prince of Peace. Right? And each week we have taken a stab at what all of these names mean. And so that's what we're going to do today. And here's the question, right? If Jesus really is a Prince of Peace, why do so many of us live with constant anxiety? Right? If Jesus is the Prince of Peace, and I'm not just talking about the whole world, right? We all know anxiety. I'm talking about Christians, followers of Jesus, right? Very, very specifically. Now hear me. You guys know I have a background in counseling. I paid a whole lot of money for that. I believe anxiety is a real thing, right? I'm not that church guy, pray it away. That's not what I'm saying. There's some truth to that, but not truth to that. And depending on where you sit on, that's not me, right? But if he is the Prince of Peace, why do so many of us live in constant anxiety? And I think it's because we try to achieve peace instead of spend time with him, right? Peace seems to be all around us, right? If I go on a field trip with 200 of my closest friends and family and we go to Hobby Lobby, what's going to be on a pillow? Love, joy, peace, right? If I get you a mug, you get me a mug, you get your friends and neighbors a mug, guess what's going to be on one of those mugs? Peace, right? Christmas is all about peace. But peace just seems to be all around us and not within us, right? And so why does peace feel promised but rarely experienced? Right? Peace is everywhere. And if you talk to people, there's some weirdos who are like, yeah, I'm not really an anxious person. I don't really worry about stuff, right? That's me and my best friend, my dad. We're the only three in all of the world that never worry. Just kidding, right? But you think through that. Why is this such a big market that we can distract ourselves into thinking we can have peace, right? We medicate or we self-medicate so we can have peace, but really it's just to be numb and we don't feel anything, but we call it peace. Why is it that peace is all around us, but not within us, right? And so here's what I want to do, just like we did the last couple weeks. This word, Prince of Peace, it's two words in Hebrew. I want to break those down to you. The first one is sar. Everyone say sar. E, right? Sar, E, right? The word sar, it's real simple. It means the one in charge. It means a ruler. It means authority, right? And so when they're saying prince, Jesus doesn't just offer peace. He rules peace, right? He rules peace. Peace is found when we surrender to him. Does that make sense? Right? So Prince of Peace, you guys all know this word. What's the word for peace? Starts with an S, ends in shalom. One more time. Shalom. And do you know how they would use this term? What would they do? Would they say it one time? No, they would say it twice. There's a reason for that. If you want to geek on that later, just come talk to me after the service. We can talk all about it. It's called a double linguistic. Anybody spell that? Now this guy. right? But they do it on purpose. And this word shalom, it means wholeness. It means completeness. It means things are set right. And it means things are flourishing. How many of you have experienced those things in your life right now? Wholeness, don't feel empty, feel complete, not like something's missing. Things are right, not wrong, and things in your life are flourishing. If I were to say, hey, if your life is flourishing right now, please stand up. I believe you. Yep, come on. But look at that. That's 3 to 5 of us, maybe. And so then you put those two words together. Jesus is the ruler of flourishing. Jesus has authority over completeness, right? He is the Prince of Peace. And here's the crazy thing. We want him to remove every problem, but he doesn't do that, right? He brings wholeness into the middle of the problem, right? He brings flourishing. He sets things right in the middle of the problem. And so here's another takeaway for you. Peace isn't found in the absence of problems, right? Peace isn't found in the absence of problems. Peace is found in the presence of God. Eli, hit that next slide for me, buddy. Right? And this makes a big difference because every single one of us have problems, right? I just said something stupid and I get paid to talk for a living, right? That's a problem. You have a problem. I have a problem. We all have problems, but what happens is when we experience these problems, the first thing we say is, God's not in this, right? But peace is found in the presence of God most of the time during the problem. And there's story after story of scripture, right? We know them. Jesus is asleep in a boat and there's a storm. Anybody ever been on the water in the midst of a storm? Is that a problem? Yes. Now for Jesus, he's taken a nap, right? And so peace is found in the presence. And so think through this, right? If peace comes from presence, then where is one of the places that we lose this often, right? It's while we are waiting, right? If you don't have a problem waiting, let's go on a field trip to the doctor and DMV on the same day, right? This morning I was driving to church and I go a little back way and there was a train and I had a decision to make, right? For those of you who don't know, I worked in Irwin for a long time and there was a train only every day, right? And they got so fed up with this train, they built a ramp over the train, okay? So I'm driving today and I see the train and I'm like, I have a decision to make. Do I turn left and wait at the train or do I just go straight and go the long way here? What did I do? Who votes long way? Put them up high. Nope. I turned to the train because I have years of practice in Unicoi County and I'm thinking, okay, God, you must need me to learn patience today. And this is literally what I did. I'd sit down. I'd roll my window down and I'd put my feet out the window. And I was like, I'm going to get late. I'm going to be late. They're going to be so mad at me. I'm like, well, I was just learning patience. And my principal goes to Northridge, so he can't get mad at me, right? He knows. And so I was trained by all these years. And so I drove right to the train. I went to put it in park. And guess what happened? The train was over. I said, let's go. Right? I made it. Test passed, right? Success. I made it here 1 minute faster than if I would have taken the long way, right? Really and truthfully, it doesn't make a big difference. But when we're waiting, right, and it's not a train or it's not the doctor's office or it's not the DMV, when we're waiting, right, one thing always happens. God feels distant. And the longer he makes you wait, the more distant you think he becomes. 50 years. Did you ever think that man was going to know Jesus? No. You have some doubts? You had some days, and we just had a really great conversation. This is going to be amazing. And he's like, nope, failed. Nothing. 50 years later, let me ask you a question. If you had a conversation every week with someone and it took 50 years to get them to heaven, would you say that is worth it? Yes. Every day, even so much waiting. I don't want that kind of waiting, Lord. Amen. Right? Absolutely, right? Waiting is always worth it, right? If, don't quote me on that part, if you know how to wait, right? There's two different types of waiting, right? Look at this with me. You can wait on God or you can wait with God, right? What do you think we choose to do? We wait on God, right? We choose to wait on God instead of waiting with God, and most of us struggle because of that, right? This is what it sounds like when you're waiting on God. God, where are you? God, when are you going to fix this? God, why hasn't this changed? God, how come this man doesn't know you? I have spent hours praying for him, having conversation. God, hello, your word says you want all of us to be saved. I'm having conversations every day. What are you doing? That's waiting on God, right? Or one of my favorites, God, I'll trust you if you fill in the blank. God, I know you're listening if you fill in the blank, right? What does it look like in our day-to-day? It means checking our phone over and over. It means replaying the conversation in our head over and over. It means lying in bed, staying awake, trying to control things that you know are out of your control. That's waiting on God, right? Waiting on God treats him like a solution we're standing in line for instead of a presence that we're walking with. You know what I'm saying? Like, God, I need you to do this. God, I need you to do this. God, I'm going to wait for a minute. God, I can see the end of the train, so I'll stay, right? If you want me to wait an hour, you're crazy. And what happens is the longer that you and I wait on God, the more peace slips away, right? Not because God is absent or he's different, but it's because we're carrying something that was never meant for ours to carry. So you imagine if I'm reaching out my hand to God, waiting on him, and I'm holding something that I don't need to be holding, what's going to happen to my arms eventually? You're going to get down because it's heavy because I wasn't meant to carry this. And so then I can't. God, I don't have any strength to reach out for you. And then he's like, don't worry, I have a righteous right hand. We'll get into that, right? But Isaiah 9:6, we hear all of these wonderful names of Jesus, but 2 chapters before, in Isaiah chapter 17, we get another name, right? And Matthew quotes Isaiah when he's telling the story of Jesus, and this is what he says in Matthew 1:23. Like I said, it's also Isaiah 7:14. But this is what it says: Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. So, God with us means we don't have to wait on him because he is already with us. But how often do we forget this one name? Probably our fault because we only talk about it one time a year, right? But if God is with us, that doesn't mean we ever have to wait on him. We're not waiting in isolation, hoping that God shows up. He's already here. Does that make sense? Right? And so how can we make this real? Not just at Christmas time, not just a month, but how can we remember that God is with us? I want to look at 2 stories of 2 parents that simulate both of these, right? First one is found in Genesis, starts in 12, and it literally goes all the way to chapter 21. We're not going to read all that. I'm going to give you some highlights, okay? But God is talking to a guy named Abraham, and his name is not Abraham yet. His name is just Abram, right? But he's giving him a promise right here in Genesis chapter 12, first few verses. And I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and those who dishonor you I will curse. And in you, pay attention to this part, all the families of the earth. You know who's included in that? All of us shall be blessed. Okay? Amazing promise, true or false? Yes, true. You will be a great nation, and in you, through you, all the families on earth will be blessed. That means he needs to have some what? Kids, right? He needs to have some kids. Now, if you know a lot about this story, they're a little bit old, Abram and his wife. The rest of chapter 12 and 13, he makes some dumb decisions, right? He's very human like us. He makes some dumb decisions because he forgets this promise, right? And what happens is we fast forward to chapter 15, just in the interest of time. It's an amazing story. Go read it. But in chapter 15, Abram and God are talking again, and then he tells them this, okay? Starting again at verse 2. Abram said, "O Lord God, what will you give me, for I continue childless?" Can you hear the waiting? Can you hear the lack of peace? I continue childless, right? and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, behold, you have given me no offspring, and a member of my household will be my heir. Now, this is a big deal. He has no kid of his own, no one passing on his name, no great nation. So he's like, I just have to pick someone in my household. Basically, I'm going to adopt him, put my name on him, and he is going to be the heir that carries me forward, right? But if you read this, we read this like that. But when I read that verse, I'm like, God, where are you at? I don't have a kid. You promised me years ago that you're going to bless me, and I got nothing. What are you doing? That's how I read this. Maybe I get to heaven and Abram's like, yo, bro, on December 21st, 2025, you misquoted me. I'll be like, my bad. We got an eternity for you to forgive me. Right? But can you hear the weight and the tension in this verse? And then look what God says. God says, all right, and behold, the word of the Lord came to him. This man shall not be your heir. Your very own son shall be your heir. You think that gives him peace? You think that gives him peace? Yeah, I heard you say that years ago. Right, I already know that. Been there, done that, same old promise, nothing new. Right, but God restates the promise. And then this is what I love. Look at verses 5 and 6. Verse 5, he says, and he brought him outside. So Abram goes outside and he says, look towards heaven, look to the sky, and number the stars, right? Count the stars, if you are able to, because there are so many. Then he said to him, so shall your offspring be. Now, some of you live in the city, but some of you live in the country. If you go out to your house or Brett and Leah's house, how many stars can you see? A lot. So this is the promise that God says, hey, I need you to trust me. Not only are you going to have a kid, but you're going to have this many offspring. Right? And what does Abraham do? What's he do? Look at verse 6. He says, okay. He believed the Lord, and it was counted to him as righteous. So, what does that mean in the waiting? It means we can kind of go back and forth. All right, God, thank you for the reminder. I'll keep waiting, right? He gives him this incredible promise for a son, but the promise came with a long wait. And so after this, over a decade, right? How many of you guys have been waiting for 10 minutes and you're like, this is dumb, I'm not doing it, right? I play video games. Where's Brett Woodley? I play video games with Brett Woodley, right? And on Tuesday, we were up way later than we should have been. And it took 2 minutes for the game to load. And he said, very smart, maybe this is God telling us we need to go to bed. He was indeed telling us we need to go to bed, right? It took 2 minutes. I'm like, I'm not waiting for this. We're done, right? We're done. 2 minutes. So not 10 minutes, right? They waited 10 years after this, right? So they were already old, and now they're well beyond parenting age, right? Year after year passed with no fulfillment, and the silence tested their trust, just like us, right? Silence tests our trust. But here's what I want you to know. The waiting was not meant to punish them. It was meant to deepen their dependence on God. Here's why, right? Takeaway number 3. God is often more interested in who you're becoming in the waiting than what you are receiving after it, right? God is more interested in who you are becoming in the waiting, right? Don't waste your waiting. Then actually giving you whatever it is you are waiting for, right? In the waiting, this tension between trusting God's timing and taking control began to grow. And as time passed, this waiting for Sarah and Abram became heavy. What did they do? They came up with their own plan, right? Because if God's taken too long, it must be because he wants you to take things that are out of your control into your control. And they're like, I know what this is. God must be asking me to do it. And so they come up with a great plan. Sarah says, hey, I have a servant girl. Her name is Hagar. Why don't you do what we talked about earlier? See how I slipped that in there? Now you have to ask yourself, was it on purpose or was it an accident? It was an accident. You can't fake that, right? And so Abram willingly agrees. Can we just take a minute? Let that process? She said, go sleep with my servant. There's not a verse, oh, I don't think that's a good idea. What's he say? Yep, let's do it. Right? Let's do it. Look what happens in Genesis 16, 1 and 2. Sarah, Abram's wife, had borne him no kids, But she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram said, okay. But you remember the promise? Who was going to be his heir? His own son. Technically, this is still true. You see how he can justify this? See, well, if I do this, it's still on me. Right? And this is what waiting on God looks like. Believing God can, but struggling to trust that he will. Right? That's the difference when we wait on God, right? Waiting on God focuses on results rather than relationships. And it always costs us peace. Right? When we're waiting on God, peace will go farther and farther and farther away. Right? The end of the story is Hagar gets pregnant and it changes the relationship, shocker, between her and Sarah. Sarah starts to mistreat her and pushes her aside, right? And then 5 chapters later, Sarah gives birth to Isaac, right? And here's what I want you to know. Sarah and Abram didn't stop believing in God. They just stopped trusting his timing. And many of us are in that same boat, right? God, I believe you, but I don't think you're moving fast enough. God, I believe you, but I'm going to help you out, right? God, I'll take care of this myself, and you show up in another moment because you're taking too long, and I don't want to keep waiting, right? Much like Abram and Sarah, we want the promise without the process, right? We want the promise without the process. If I said, hey, everyone, I have an amazing plan. It's going to help us lose 30 pounds of fat, and we're going to gain muscle. Anybody want that? Yeah, you better put your hand up, you liars, right? All of us want that. You know what we say? Okay, let's go get it. We're going to cut our calories in half. We're going to eat protein, no double stuffed Oreos covered in white fudge and pretzels covered in chocolate. We're going to have lettuce wrapped burgers. Blech. Right? Anybody still want that? Yeah, a few of you, because you're crazy. I want my burger with a bun. That's how God made it. Right? Covered in cheese. You know what I just ate? A grilled cheeseburger, and it was phenomenal. Where was that from? It was so good. Applebee's. Man. Dipped it in tomato soup. I thought it'd be weird. It was great. I thought of Courtney because she loves tomato basil soup. It was phenomenal. I said, could you imagine this covered in lettuce? Blech. Gross. But we all want the promise. We don't want the process. And what's the end result of waiting on God? Peace leaving us. Now, flip that. Let's compare that to Mary, who waited with God, right? Mary's given a promise that makes even less sense than Abraham and Sarah's, right? Now that you're old, you will have kids, but she got a promise that said, hey, you're a virgin and you're going to have a baby. Okay, look at Luke chapter 1 real quick. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you will call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. And then look at the next 2 verses. And he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. Sandlot. His kingdom will never end. And then verse 34, right? Keep this up here for a second, Eli. How will this be? Mary asked the angel, since I am a virgin. Bless you. So, when Abraham and Sarah were talking, you could feel the weight. You could feel the tension, right? You could feel the uneasiness. Do you think Mary has that? Is she asking a genuine question? Hey, how will that be? Because I'm a virgin, right? She doesn't get a timeline. She doesn't get an explanation. She gets no guarantee of comfort. But listen to her response. Look at verse 38. Okay? Verse 38 says this, I am the Lord's servant, Mary answered. May your word to me be fulfilled. And then the angel left her, right? That's waiting with God. Not because she understood everything, but because she trusted the one that was with her, the one who gave her the promise. That's waiting with God, right? She doesn't control the outcome. She surrenders to the presence of God. She doesn't rush the process. She trusts the relationship, right? And notice this, Mary doesn't wait for God to act. She walks with God into the unknown. I know that's a song. I'm not going there, right? Waiting with God. Right? Waiting with God produces peace even when we lack clarity. Right? She just knew, hey, you're going to get pregnant. You're going to have a kid. Okay. I'm the Lord's servant. Just one question. One question. Right? And here's the thing, right? Same structure, but very different hearts. One seeks control, the other seeks trust. Here's the last takeaway I have for you, right? If you haven't picked up on this. Waiting with God is so much better than waiting on God, right? Waiting with God is so much better than waiting on God, right? There have been seasons in my life where I was waiting for answers, waiting for clarity, waiting for things to change. And the longer I waited, the more anxious I was tempted to become, not because God was absent, but because I was acting like he already was. And that's why the name Emmanuel matters. God with us means we're not standing in line hoping God shows up. He's already there, right? And so think through this. God says, peace doesn't come from speeding up God's plan. Peace comes from staying close to God's presence. It's not hurry, 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 hurry. It's, all right, what do you want me to do? I just want you to walk. Just want you to walk. Okay, what do you want me to do on walk? I want you to tell them about me, right? And then hearing that story reminds me of the two guys who are on the road to Emmaus. What are they doing? Walking and talking. And who shows up? Jesus. And so imagine what that looks like in our life. If we just say, hey, God, I'm here. I'm just going to walk. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to talk to the people that you want me to talk to. I'm going to tell them the story that you have given me, tell them the story of what you are doing in my life, and I'm just going to wait for you to show up. He always will. But you and I, we treat peace like it's something that it is able to be received. Instead of a someone, right? Instead of a someone that we can receive, right? And here's what's crazy. That someone's name is literally Prince of Peace. So we often live like Abraham and Sarah, right? We believe God's promises, but we struggle to trust his timing. And so we fill that gap with anxiety. But Jesus invites us to wait like Mary. And here's the last slide for you. You'll have to go to Eli. Waiting on God, ask, when will this be over? One more. There it is. Waiting on God, ask, when will this be over? Waiting with God, ask, who's walking me through this? Right? So let me ask you a question, and you don't have to answer this out loud, but would you rather walk with Jesus and wait? Or would you walk just talking to him, hoping that he shows up? Right? Hey, God, when will this be over? I don't care how long it takes if he's walking with me. Right? If he's like, hey, we got to go on a journey. Okay. And here's what we often do. Are you coming with me? And you see where my hand is? That means we're leading. Right? Watch this. Hey, I'm ready to go wherever you go. Just like a little kid. Right? I don't walk like this with a little kid and let them lead me into traffic and bad decisions. What do? I take my son or my daughter or my niece and my nephew and I say, hey, come along, let me tell you about this. Hey, you want to come and do this? And so what happens is, waiting on God, we're like this. Come on, God, when's this going to be over? Right, I've already made this lap. I've already been here. I've already done this. We've walked through this over and over and over. It's different if we're like this. All right, God, where are we going? I don't care how long as it takes as long as I'm here with you. Right, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. I sing it all the time. I surrender all. We sing it all the time. But I don't know if I want to go there. And he's like, come on, I'm with you. Right, it's okay. Just follow me. Right, just follow me. And this is what waiting with God looks like, right? Hey, God, just want to go wherever you want me to go. Might be a little tough up here. I'm okay with that as long as you're with me. Hey, are you going to lead the way? Are you going to plow the path? Are you going to plow the road? Yes. Yes, I am. And so you and I have to decide, right? Do we want to wait on God or do we want to wait with him, right? Most of the time, we want peace without the surrender. Right? We want the calm without the trust. We want the relief without the dependence. And so here's what I want you to do. I just want you to think for a second. What are you trying to control in your life that is outside of your control? For some of you, you need a book, not a piece of paper. Right? What are you carrying right now that was never yours to carry? Right? Peace doesn't come from God fixing everything immediately. It comes from knowing who is walking with you through it. And so here's the last question. Where are you waiting on God instead of waiting with him? And here's what I want you to do, right? Super weird. I know we do this sometimes in church, but I just want you to close your eyes, not to raise your hand, not to do anything, just to think and not be distracted, right? For the next minutes, I want us to think about anything that is robbing you of peace. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, right? Maybe it's a job situation. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's something small like figuring out the next elf on a shelf destination, right? It could be a decision that you're avoiding. It could be a relationship. It could be a hard conversation. It could be financial stress, whatever it is. Whatever it is, bring it to God. And I'm going to pray over us, and then we're going to sit in silence for 1 minute, not waiting on God, but resting with him. And that silence is going to feel forever, and it's going to feel heavy because you're carrying things that you are not meant to carry. And so I'm going to pray, right? Because in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, we read, "Now, may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times and in every way." So I'm going to pray. The band will come back up here in a minute, but we're just going to sit in silence and hopefully start to make a switch from waiting on to waiting with. So God, I pray for each of us here, God, whatever it is in our life that we are carrying that you never asked us to carry, God, I pray that we would give that to you. God, I pray for all of the situations, big or small, that we are waiting on you, God, that we are trying to lead the conversation. We're trying to guide your foot. We're trying to guide your hand. Help us to sit back. Help us to lean back and to follow you. God, help us get to the place where we don't mind the waiting because we're waiting with. God, give us the opportunity. Give us the strength. Give us the grace to wait with. We ask and we